If you've got a question, the voices of resin are here. Oh, PlastChicks.
PlastChicks is an SPE sponsored podcast. Hi, Mercedes.
Well, hello, Lynzie.
It's so nice to see you. Look at, we're even kind of rocking the same like curly reddish hair
A little
today.
bit. Yeah, I feel like you're looking a little bit like more on fleek than me today.
Are the kids still saying that? So the
No,
kids are saying
that is part of me showing that I am not on fleek.
Perfect. I love it. Well, I did invest in my springy get up today. We're just trying to channel that energy because it snowed yesterday and I am angry about it. Especially because I just planted all my plants.
Yeah, it was 80 in Chicago the other day, and then on Monday it was snowing as well.
It's disrespect.
Not cool.
Honestly. Yeah. Well, I'm Lynzie Nebel.
I'm Rashed Landazuri, and with our powers combined, we are
PlastChicks,
the voices of resin.
We are here. Our podcast released the first Friday of every month. And then typically 2 weeks later, I was going to say 2 months later, you get the YouTube version so you can see us in action with these sweet, sweet interviews. Yeah, and you can find us on social media anywhere that you Google PlastChicks. You'll find us. We're there.
You'll find us, yeah.
You'll find us. If you can't find us, that feels more like a user error than anything.
It's not PlastChicks, it's just PlastChicks. But we do respond to both names.
We do, because we're kind like that.
So today with us, we have a very special guest. We would joining us from my origin time, Pacific time. So we'd like to introduce Rashed Islam. He is head of product integrity at Lyft. Rashed, thanks so much for joining us on the podcast today.
Hello, Mercedes. Hello, Lynzie. It's 9 a.m. here, bright and sunny. I hope you had a wonderful lunch in East Coast.
We did. So, Rashed, tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit about Lyft, kind of your bio, your background.
Yeah, so I'm Rashed Islam. Originally, I'm from Bangladesh, but like last almost 19 years, I'm in United States. I came in United States in 2004 and finished my doctoral degree in University of Texas at Arlington. And then right after my graduation, I came to Silicon Valley. I took up a startup company and joined as a senior materials developer. And then the journey begins from there. Worked in a few different companies like Lumilids, that was a Philips at the time. And then also worked in Amazon Lab 126. Google was the longest tenure of almost 8 years. And then last year in February, I joined Lyft TBS. We call it Transit Bikes and Scooter Division under Lyft. So it's not the ride sharing company, it's the bike sharing company. So we do have like bikes in the field in New York, Chicago, San Francisco, Portland, and we have both classic bikes and electric bikes. We also have like docking stations and electric scooters as well in different markets like Denver and Chicago as well. So yeah, so currently I am heading the product integrity team at Lyft, which involves end-to-end reliability, making sure that our product is safer and it's like a comfortable to our riders. And one challenging thing is like we make our product, we own it. So we have to make sure that our product is sturdy and it is not breaking while the user is riding. So that's what we want to make sure. We also have a very dedicated, like a hands-on field quality and failure analysis team in under the product integrity umbrella, and they looked into like the post-launch field issues, and then making sure that they are triaged, they have corrective actions, and also work with the reliability team hands on hands to make sure that all the corrective actions are validated. And then the third leg of product integrity is definitely the lab team. So all we do is purely hands-on experimental work. So we develop new test items, we develop new test fixtures, we create new internal standards, making sure that they reflect the field usage model. And all our reliability team are have expertise in understanding like field usage model, and also do a field projection model based on the initial data we received. And the product integrity is a very critical part of the product development team that goes hands in hand. So yeah, so that is a quick high level intro for my bio.
Thanks, Rashed. So let's get a little more personal. You studied materials and metallurgical engineering in Bangladesh for your bachelor's and master's. And then, as you said, you came to the United States about 19 years ago. Why Texas? Why Arlington?
That's a very good question. Like one thing I wanted to tell you, like from the very beginning, I had engineering degree in mind that I want to pursue. So when I was finishing up my undergrad, and after my undergrad, I received a scholarship from Arizona State University. So I was very pumped up, and I was very happy to receive that. And unfortunately, that was right after 9/11. So there was lots of visa restrictions, so I could not come at that time. So what I did is I did not waste my time. So I joined the same university, which is called Bangladesh University of Engineering and Technology, as a ad hoc lecturer. So my first career is actually an academician. And then at the same time, I was finishing up my master's from the same university. Then there was a wonderful collaboration opportunity came in with Hong Kong City University of Hong Kong. So I moved to Hong Kong for a couple of years, and at that time, that was the first time I was exposed to reliability, and that was a wonderful opportunity. I was doing like a lead-free soldering and also some conductive adhesive, which has some epoxy-based conductive adhesive. So I was learning all the techniques of interconnect technologies, learning all the techniques about lead-free soldering, how reliability works, what is aging, how metallurgy can chime into the light metals like tin zinc solder, tin lead solder kind of things. Also trying to, I was trying to learn about the polymers, epoxies, how we can cure the epoxy in terms of using thermal or UV or microwave heat, something like that. So one time, one day in Hong Kong, I like in Hong Kong, we used to work like 5.5 days in a week. So Saturday is a half day for us. So in the afternoon, I was sitting, and then I thought like, I want to pursue my goals. So my passion was to somehow finish my PhD as soon as possible. So I actually wrote all my graduate advisors that I want to come for my PhD, and so like all my previous graduate advisors that I used to work with before after my graduation in undergrad. So only like few of them replied, and then the University of Texas at Arlington, I had the graduate advisor was very kind to me, and then he said like, if you come here, I will ensure you funding and making sure that you have a good life here. And we have some exciting new faculties joining in 2004 fall. So there might be some good opportunity for you, which aligns with your background. And he mentioned one of the faculty named Shashank Priya, who who is actually joining from Penn State University, and
Love that.
yeah, Penn State University, and his background also ceramics. So I was doing my master's in ceramics. So that's the main motivation for me to come to Texas. Also, my brother used to live in Austin, so that was another like a secondary motivation, you can say. But like, I tried to go different places like Arizona, Maryland, nothing happened. But finally, the Texas Arlington was my destination.
And is your brother an engineer as well?
Yes, so my father, my brother, all are engineers, but like both of them are civil engineers. Actually, my family is full of civil engineers. My
So you were the rebellious one.
yeah. So exactly. So my father was a like a water resource irrigation civil engineering, and then my brother is a transportation engineer in Austin right now.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, and I love how sometimes the best laid plans, thinking you're coming to Arizona, that's the plan, and now all of a sudden you end up in Texas, and that's kind of launched you on the trajectory that it has, as opposed to, if you were at Arizona years earlier, what would that have made your career path out to be? I think some of those stories end up being the most interesting results.
Yeah, when I went to Hong Kong, I didn't have a very clear idea why I came to Hong Kong. But when I look back now, I have exactly the why I went to Hong Kong, because that was the first exposure to reliability, and I had built my career around the reliability engineering, quality, and so that gave me a wonderful like a foundation of my career actually.
And you'd studied initially metallurgical engineering, ceramics, you mentioned.
Mhm.
Of course, we have you on the PlastChicks podcast, so we know that you
Love plastic.
will be having their fingers crossed. Hopefully, he does. This is about plastics, right?
Yeah.
So how did you transition from metallurgical engineer into a plastics engineer?
Yeah, so like as a material science and engineering student, we had to study everything, right? So metals, ceramics, polymer, composites, etc. I do see like a very similarities in terms of studying like structure of the materials, properties of the materials. We studied different types of polymers in my undergrad, and also a little bit on the during the master's side. But I never had a clear opportunity to study like or work for polymers. Like a little bit here and there. Also like kind of an applied side of the polymer technology. Mostly when I was working on a system level, we used to work like we used to test like an impact properties of different devices such as Nest thermostat, Kindle e-readers, which also have a lot of plastics. But I used to analyze like why did it fail. But when it was back in 2016 when this opportunity came in I was working for a Nest learning thermostat. It's a cheaper version of the Nest learning thermostat, so it is more like a plasticky product. At the time the opportunity came in like, hey, we want to use recycled plastics. I said, okay, what is that actually? So I started digging up, studying a little bit more, and trying to understand like how recycled plastics were made. I joined the project at a very critical time where all the hardware group is very like not so super optimistic about recycled plastics. So the initial misconception was recycled plastics is inferior to the virgin in terms of mechanical properties. So I thought like, okay, like let me take a very neutral stand on here. So I took a little bit of time trying to understand why there is a notion about recycled plastics being inferior to the virgin plastics. So I started designing my experiment and doing an apples to apples comparison, trying to understand what is the injection molding, trying to understand what are the molding parameters that really affects the properties of the polymer, and also like what are the post molding processing technologies that also affects the properties of the polymer. So then it comes all the secondary processing like painting, environmental stress cracking, all those things come out. But I took like almost 6 months, but after the 6 months of study, I could literally show the whole Google hardware team, if you're doing your processing right, if you're comparing like comparing virgin and the PCR in terms of right combination, there should not be any difference in mechanical properties between the virgin and the PCR based polycarbonates. So I was mainly focusing on the polycarbonate. So that was the breakthrough in my career, and my, like, as I have passion for sustainability from the very beginning, this was actually opened a wide window for me to go work for polymers and plastics as well. And from then, like, I always had a side project, and then at the same time, Google also wanted to implement recycled plastics into their products, at least 50% for until within 2025. So that my research and my effort was very helpful, trying to convince the hardware team that it is okay to use recycled polycarbonates into the enclosure materials. Later, we also used the recycled polycarbonates into the AC adapter enclosure, which has high requirement from UL and everything. Mm-hmm. So that was great, I would say, and that was the beginning of my full-fledged as a plastic engineer, working to make the plastics come into the world of consumer electronics. And then
your addiction to plastic is
absolutely, absolutely. And while I was doing the next 5 years, I was heavily involved in bioplastics, bioadhesives, recycled polycarbonates, and everything that could go into the product. And then when I see the opportunity at Lyft, I thought this is a sustainable transportation, which actually is working to reduce the carbon emission. Why not I go there, try to implement recycled plastic if they haven't, not yet. So that's where the biggest motivation of my addiction to the plastics brought me into Lyft.
Hi, I'm Dr. Sarah Skidmore, and I'd like to share with you SPE's Certificate in Leadership. Have you heard about the program? In this program, participants learn about essential leadership and management principles, such as organizational culture, financial intelligence, strategic planning, innovation, and more. But they not only learn the topics, they learn how to apply strategies and tools to their team, their department, and organization. I invite you to visit forspe.org to learn more about the Certificate in Leadership and to apply for an upcoming cohort.
I have to say, I am a little bit starstruck right now because I gave a trend presentation yesterday to a customer, and in that presentation, I actually included the new Google Nest Wi-Fi router in the high gloss with the soft tones that is now 60% recycled plastic. And it sounds like, Rashed, we have you to thank for that.
I was two of my projects used the first recycled plastics in Google Nest at the time.
I love it. Well, and I think I've been in the injection molding industry for a hot minute, and I was kind of around, at least in my opinion, when a lot of people were trying to use the recycled material into products, and the same feedback was always, you can't use it, it's crap, like the temperature profile's off, it's not the same. But what it comes out to is you can't just plop it 1-to-1 and say this is going to be the exact same thing, let's process it the same way, let's handle it the same way. And I think that evolution has been very slow, but I think by work, you know, some of the work that you were doing and stuff like that, I think that's started to help other people realize, you know, actually it's just as viable. You just can't treat it the exact same way as you would coming, you know, straight from your material supplier.
Yeah, every material has different like a molding parameters
Right.
or optimized molding parameters. So if you just use the same one, it may not work, but like you have to tweak, optimize, and then use it. So yeah.
And I love that, you know, you're saying your opportunities at Lyft are basically, you know, you're talking about sustainability from a transportation end, but then you're also coming to it from, you know, the material end of things. So you're kind of double sustainability. Is that a word?
Yes.
Is that a phrase
So,
we're going to
yeah,
go
absolutely,
with now?
absolutely. Yeah. So like we are trying to be as much sustainable as possible in terms of for metals, we use recycled metals. For plastics, we are trying to use recycled plastics. One big caveat is like our bikes and scooter is like next like 5 to 10 years, it will stay outdoor. It has to survive high heat, high humidity. It's have to survive low temperature, Chicago and New York weather. And it has to survive UV. It has to survive all the chemical exposures, salt and everything. So we are taking a very cautious approach, making sure that like we understand the characterization of the strength and the impact properties of the plastics, UV characterization over the 5 and 10 years life. Because as I mentioned, like our bike is designed for 10 years to make it more sustainable. And that's why we are taking a very cautious approach and we are working heavily to implement the recycled plastics into our bikes and scooters and stations.
Well, I can say Mercedes and I do love an electric scooter, maybe a little irresponsibly so, but but since they're in Chicago, Mercedes, I feel like I have to come visit you, and then
Absolutely.
we can test the product for you in the field. So.
Well, I think, yeah, I mean, well, the new one, the one that Lyft launched, I think in 2021, that won Time Magazine's top 100 innovations of the year. And because it has like up to 60 miles of range, right? So that's twice the previous models. So you know, they have them in Chicago now, right? Yeah, because I was so mad because I was trying to get downtown, and here comes this little Lyft bike that's just zooming past all the traffic. I was like, boiled again.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
No, you were asking a question, so I'll
Yeah,
let you finish.
so obviously there's you know a lot of innovation here, but what do you think is the real importance of micromobility, especially in well, I mean here where you're working, right, where we live, where people are so car fixated.
Yeah, so that is a wonderful question, and I want to say like e-bikes are very, very helpful. Usually, like when you compare e-bikes versus classic bikes like pedal bikes are like you still have to pedal. There is no e-assist, so the distance you cover through pedal bikes are limited. But like what we have found through our study is like when you have e-bikes, it actually replaces some of your car trips, which are like 2 to 3 miles or 4 miles. That you cannot walk, you cannot pedal. So you usually used to take a car to go that distance. But with the introduction of the e-bikes with a larger battery capacity, you can actually go that mile and like within a very short time. So that was great. And with the larger battery pack, we are making it more sustainable because now like our warehouse technicians doesn't have to come to the stations to replace the batteries more frequently. So you don't have to. And also it has higher safety standards such as hydraulic brakes. We used hydraulic brakes in those e-bikes, which actually hydraulic brakes are used for mopeds and other like a mobility transportation devices. And then another big one was we have a retro reflective paint in this bike that was PPG. Our partnership with PPG developed this paint, and it's a powder coating paint. Usually like a liquid paint is available, but powder coating is the first time that PPG has developed for Lyft, and then it's the first product that came into the market with a retro reflective paint. So at night, it's actually light is reflecting on you, so has more rider safety. So that is wonderful, and that's one of the reason it was named as a Time Magazine's Best Innovation in 2021. It has GPS technology, so we exactly know where the bike is located. A lot of our riders keep the bikes in different places, so we exactly have to locate those bikes as well. But like shared micromobility or e-bikes are important because that promote like a sustainable transportation, reduce traffic congestions, reduce the number of cars from the street, and are accessible to many people. And then Lyft has their app that is more easily like you can access the bike much more easier. Just scan the QR code, you're done. And then biking has a lot of health benefits. Improves. It's fun actually. This year we also have introduced like a group biking project that is sometimes your family comes in, and then so they also want to try and bike at the same time together. You can actually use your app to unlock bikes for others as well. So that helps to make it a lot make it that ride much more fun, and making sure that these are like a sustainable transportation, reducing the carbon footprint as well.
Yeah, I love that, the whole group can go together and, make it an event.
Well, that was like us, an event.
That was like us. We were a family riding together, and it was so much fun.
Also, I want to add here is one of our new station that is going to be launched very soon as well, called Pillar. We already introduced it. That also gives us an opportunity to charge our batteries while the bikes are in dock position. So so now if we can implement like by the end of this year, we will see like the bikes when they're docked into that Pillar station, the battery is going to be charged by itself. It involves a huge infrastructure because now that you have to connect to the grid as well to make the bikes more charged, but that helps the sustainable story into the next level, because now our warehouse technician doesn't have to go to the station like more frequently than what they are doing right now. So larger battery pack reduces the number of trips, and with the electrification of our station, we'll eventually like get rid of or reduce as much as possible their trips. So we are working towards more sustainable way to improve our e-bikes and the whole eStation like a strategy as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I've seen the videos that I think they published like 2 months ago on the Pilar charging stations. They're beautiful.
Yeah.
And were you able to work on that project as well?
Yes, we are heavily involved in that project. Yeah, so we are currently working on improving that. So definitely, it's currently in the NPI phase, but we announced it as soon as we locked down all the features and features works and everything. So.
And I love that the bikes are designed to last 10 years, in outdoors, in multiple different riders who probably aren't going to be taking as good care of a shared bike, a shared, micro mobility devices as they might their own, right? I mean, But so, and you'd mentioned at the beginning of the conversation that trying to get it to reflect the field usage model.
Yeah.
Can you, for some of our big nerd listeners like me, can you talk about that lab and the types of tests you use, some of the fun ones?
Absolutely. So it is one of my fun place to be. The lab is called Lyft Micromobility Lab. It is in the Portola Hill in San Francisco. So where we break stuff, try to understand different failure modes. Obviously, like when the bikes are in the field, they have to go through like high temperature, low temperature, salty atmosphere in Chicago in the winter time, and also like UV lights. And then when they're in the ride, they go through like a vibration shock because they go to the potholes, they slam.
Again, Chicago.
Yeah, everywhere. They slam into the sidewalk and all the stuff. So yeah, we have to really ponder upon like what is the exact usage model. So when and then our bikes has all those technologies that give us the opportunity to dig into the data in terms of like a vibration frequency, what is the G level, what temperature it receives. Weather data is readily available, but the other data is like how many times like the seat has been adjusted, how many times there is a braking event, from what speed does it come. So in our lab, we have all those great tools to validate the bikes. We start from a component level, then slowly go into the critical module level, and we have a full bike tester where we put the whole bike into two drums, and then we can actually simulate pothole, we can simulate like a bumps, we can simulate different speed, we can simulate like a different rider loads on the saddle, and then hard brake, soft brake, all those stuff. So that's why I'm saying like we are involved in an end-to-end reliability, starting from a very component selection. Like we do a lot of paper qual, trying to understand whether it can survive the outdoor environment. Then when it comes to the critical module, we do some kind of rel testing, going through all these different corner cases so that it can survive like 10 years of life. And we heavily involved in like Weibull modeling, which gives us the opportunity to understand whether this accelerated data is meaningful for 7 to 10 years of life or not. So, and definitely all these opportunities, like testing in-house, saves us a lot of money because I remember like end of last year, we were doing a freeze and thaw testing. So which says like the snow comes into our product and then it melts and then it again thaws.
So like an April in Erie, Pennsylvania.
Exactly. And then at the time we didn't have the resource in-house, so we looked at a few of the third party, and one of the quotation was around 85K. So that was quite a bit, like just for one time testing. But we, with our dedicated lab team, we have a machinist who is very helpful. We developed similar kind of test setup under 5K. So that's a huge benefit of having a dedicated lab team and also dedicated in-house machinist, and also the lab is very like it's a self-sustaining. Currently, we have a vibration machine, salt chamber, high temperature, high humidity, which can also go to low temperature swing. We can do like a full bike testing, as I mentioned. We have a tensile testing machine where we do all sorts of like a materials testing as well. And then definitely we can do some other module testing, such as like seat clamp cycling, braking, and all those crank arm testing. So yeah, it's a very fun place to be. There was a couple of articles and also a nice cool 1-minute YouTube video as well. that show our lab to rest of the world. So yeah, that's one of my fun place to be.
I love that, you took the testing that, could be traditionally done at an outside lab that does all the testing and, brought it in and kind of catered it to what you need it for. Because when I was in college, I remember Brian Young constantly said, the best testing is the end use of what it's going to be used for. And I think sometimes that gets overlooked as, oh, well, there's this standard, let's just test it to this standard. And well, that's great. You should meet your standards of whatever you need. But I think the functionality and the end use is really where you're going to see, any of your weaknesses or your strengths or be able to improve. And I really love that you guys take that to the next level.
Yeah, the primary core of our teams and our like Lyft hardware teams motive is to design for sustainability. So that means like we follow the 3R technology: reduce, reuse, and recycle. So reduce, like we try to reduce as many failures as possible to extend the life. Reuse, like we want to make sure that we reuse from metals and plastics from different sources, and also some and recycle. Like we have a partnership with Redwood Materials in very close to us, where we recycle our batteries to them, so that like all the rare earth metals get reused in a different technology. So that's we are always trying to find new opportunities to understand how we can contribute to the circular economy, not on the linear economy.
And also just thinking about that, some of those things that you said of, e-bikes enable replacement of, shorter car trips, like 3 to 4 miles, and thinking back, Chicago is a great place for bikes because it's flat, but my hometown, San Francisco, I had a bike that I never took out because you can get like a block or two before you hit a massive hill and just have to walk it up. Oh, it's fun going down.
Yeah.
So I really see, especially in those kind of topographies where micromobility can be a huge force for sustainability.
Yes. The e-bikes, e-scooters will be like a monumental approach for all the cities to be more sustainable. Europe is much more friendlier to those micromobility devices, but like US is also getting in there. We are constantly working with different cities, trying to convince them. And as we go further, you will see more and more cities approach that, take that approach of micromobility devices in their city. One of the biggest problem is how these devices are located in the street. And that's where city doesn't like, where a dockless system actually is messier. And here we have a very docking strategy system, which looks the city much more cleaner, which also has the charging capability. So yeah, so I would say in future, we will have a better opportunity working with the different cities with our docking strategy and making sure that e-bikes and e-scooters are everywhere. And one big advantage of our docking strategy is like the same station can dock like e-bikes and e-scooters at the same location. So you don't have to go for a different scooter for different station. And also you can also get bikes from the same dock station. So yeah, those are the future looking approach as well.
That makes sense. And thinking back to, I guess San Francisco had a lot of forethought when they outlawed segways in San Francisco back in the day, specifically for that reason, thinking that they were going to clutter up the streets. So I love the approach that you're taking. I love this new innovation with the pillar charging docks. And I think we're about out of time, but this has been a lovely conversation. I wish we could.
Yeah, time just flew.
Can't wait to finally get on one of those new bikes.
When we do, I will go visit Mercedes. We will ride one together, and then we'll let you know.
We'll FaceTime you. Yeah.
a second while we're screaming down the street.
Absolutely.
Or at least share our
Absolutely.
GPS location.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
so someone can come
Absolutely.
find us. Well, thank you so much for being here. This was such a great conversation. And I mean, like I said, I'm really looking forward to riding an e-scooter, e-bike. I'm always in.
Absolutely. You're most welcome. Any city you can come and ride. The big ones. Yep.
All right. Thank you.